Like that tune.
Now we're grooving.
That's good.
Grooving to the tunes.
Yeah.
What's
Good
up, everybody?
evening. This is Renee Manford with What's Your Passion podcast, and tonight I have a good friend of mine, Matthew Currin, on board, and our Andy is our Andy Barker's our I don't know what you are, my host, you're my navigator, my machine behind the scene,
Your partner in crime.
The producer.
Right.
my producer.
That's right.
So I want to thank you for everyone who's going to join tonight. I know we're just now into our fourth episode. And tonight I have my good friend Matthew on board that's with Convene Communities. And it's a platform that I've been talking about over the last few months gradually. And we're putting it on our platforms more and more as really being what I find is a very unique platform that is not, there's no other comparison out there with any other platforms. And I find that with Matthew's help and support and the team of people he has part of his platform, which is, I think, what now, 3,600, 3,700 members.
Yeah.
It's growing. So I'm really excited about tonight, just really kind of hearing from Matthew and just kind of sharing where Convene is, your history on it and how you started and everything. And I know recently you just had a hip replacement in the last few weeks. So to kind of give us a little bit of input on that also, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I'm 3 weeks out yesterday from a hip replacement.
So you ready to sprint?
I'm running. I started training today for a marathon,
Wow.
So now it's I'm still in the recovery mode. It's still a little painful, to be honest with you, but overall we'll get there. It's hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll progress through all the pain and all that, but it's not too terribly bad. I'll tell you, I had a lot of lower back pain prior to it, and the lower back pain is gone. That's like the most encouraging thing in this whole thing. So yeah, I'm old man. That's really what it is.
That's incredible.
That's true.
That's right. But yeah.
So just kind of tell us, I guess. I mean, I know you and I have had some great conversations. You've helped me over 3 years, I think, when I first started with the platform and got familiar with it. But I think I've gotten more familiar with it just recently. But just from your story of pretty much where the platform is, what you find that it's doing for so many of the different community individuals like myself who are creators, coaches, things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, to really understand what Convene Communities is and why it's different, you got to go back to where it came from. And I'll tell that story real quick. And I'm a retired Marine Corps pilot. I was a helicopter pilot, flew the CH-46 Echo V-22 Osprey. And it goes back to a training exercise that I did on July 9th of 2001. And when we went out to do this training exercise, I had one gentleman that I flew with the majority of my flights. His name was Clark Beatty. And I went in to sign for the aircraft. That's like getting the keys, and we signed the book and, saying we're safe for flight. And I'm taking possession of that aircraft. And he was inside of what was called maintenance control. And I said, "Hey, bro, hand me the book." And he goes, "Well, we changed the schedule. I'm not flying with you tonight. This other guy's going to fly with you." And I'm like, "Okay, it would happen." He goes, "I want this new guy, Sergeant Salah, to get to know you, but we'll be together tomorrow night." And this guy, you got to understand the relationship he and I had. I flew the majority of my flights with him. He was my combat crew chief. So we were assigned to each other pretty much. And so that was not unusual. So I signed for the other book. We went out and did the flight. And right in the middle of the flight, we were doing what was called practice shipboard landings. And when we were doing these practice shipboard landings, I was on what was called the LHA deck. We were talking about an aircraft issue we had going on. I asked the gunny in the back, who is the air observer. I said, "Hey, where are they at?" And he said, "Well, they're flying on downwind." A couple minutes later, I said, "Hey, can I lift?" And he goes, "Sir, did they call departing? I don't see them." Sergeant Salah stuck his head out of the water and said, "Hey, sir, come up now. They're in the water." I picked the aircraft up, kicked the tail around, and you saw that the aircraft had crashed in the water. And that, ended up being probably the worst night of my entire life because the reality of it is we lost 3 incredible Marines. There were 5 Marines on the aircraft. The 2 pilots survived. The 3 crew chiefs in the back passed away and died, and Clark was one of them. And it was so hard on me because I was supposed to fly with him the next night. But I found out Renee, I found out a day and a half later that what had happened, what caused that mishap. When I speak about it, when I speak at conferences and talk about it, I call it 12 seconds changed everything, because they think from the time the start of the mishap happened, what caused the mishap, that it took 12 seconds. And something could have broken the chain of events, and they could have, avoided that mishap, but they went down the path. But what I found out a day and a half later is that another squadron had a mishap that had the same causal factor a year and a half prior, but they kept it a secret. They didn't share it. And
Mm,
because they didn't share it, it was a 2-minute fix. It was unscrew one bolt and screw another one in. And it would have, what they did is they turned on a red cockpit dome light, and it made their night vision goggles bloom out. We call it blooming out. And so they basically ended up flying the helicopter into the water. They can see out, but everybody focused on turning that light off. Nobody was focusing on flying the aircraft. Unfortunately, they didn't mean for it to happen, but
right.
they flew it right in the water and crashed. And so when I was out there, I was watching them pull the helicopter up out of the water, literally take it and put it on the barge, something you're familiar with. Take the helicopter out and put it on the barge. And, I made a promise right there that I would dedicate my whole life to avoiding human error, to help people not make the same mistakes over and over, to having people share their stories and all of that. And that's what I've been dedicated to ever since. And what Convene Communities is it is because of Clark Beatty. That's why
Wow.
there is a Convene Communities, because I believe we all have a story. I believe in that we all have something to share, and I believe that it's our job to tell that story, and it's our job to share what we know for the good of others. And we can give all kinds of examples. We've talked about parenting, we talked about marriage, we talked about relationships, all those different things. It's like us sitting here and saying, hey, Renee, if you were in this situation, how would you handle it? And you would share that, I'd handle it like this. Well, you're telling me through your life experience. Well,
Hmm.
if they
Right.
would have shared that experience of what caused that mishap, they would have shared that mishap, we may not be sitting here today, because that mishap would have not have happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So this is back in 2001 when all
Yeah.
this happened.
2001, you think about that, 2001, and to this day, it's my driving force in life.
I mean,
Of why
at that time, were you doing teaching? Were you coaching? Were you doing
Well,
stuff like this?
I was an instructor in the Marine Corps. I was a pilot, so I was an instructor. That's what I was doing that night, and I was
Okay.
teaching and I
Okay.
was instructing. So
Okay.
I was in this mode of teaching and instructing and all that. But I come from college. When I went to college, I had, they always say, well, to be a military pilot, you need a math degree, you need an engineering degree. No, I have a degree in psychology,
Right.
undergrad degree in psychology, and I have a master's degree in counseling.
Gotcha.
So I was in that mindset of teaching and that sort of thing. That's what I did. Um, and so, yeah, it was a natural carryover. I ended up going forward, and I started speaking shortly after that. And I went to Afghanistan in 2001. So I was in 2001, 2002. So when I came out of Afghanistan, we were some of the first Marines, first troops in there. Um,
Right.
and I was speaking a lot, because I was going around and they were having us talk about what our experience was, explaining to other people. But I would talk about, a lot of times, teaching crew resource management is what we called it. I would tell the Clark Beatty story. I mean, because the ultimate goal is, hey, I tell you the story, you'll be a little bit more careful, you'll be on point, and you'll
Right.
hopefully avoid having a mishap and repeating the same thing. Majority of mishaps in aviation are human error.
Hmm.
Not the machine; they're human error. They're avoidable.
And how to connect? Just, I mean, Convene kind of started just somewhere throughout the past years
Yeah,
behind that. You just kind of started
absolutely.
thinking
So
about it.
yeah, I was always in that teaching mode, and I started what was called the Marine Aviation Training Transformation
Right.
program for the Marine Corps, for the V-22 Osprey. And what we were doing is tying in decision making and crew resource management into our training program. So it
Okay.
went literally right along with what I had gone through with the loss of Clark Beatty. And that's the program we started for the V-22 that spread out to other platforms inside of the military aviation. It was
Okay.
talking about all of these things that we're talking about, human experience.
Hmm.
We make decision errors all the time in life and all of those different things. And the idea is that, if I'll give you an example. When I'm teaching in front of a crowd, I talk about learning how to drive a car. All right. So
Right.
think about that. We're all kind of older. And so, and in different parts of life, but we know how to drive a car. We have experience driving a car. Well, now
Right.
think back to when you have to you teach your kid how to drive a car. Well, they don't have a clue. Right.
Correct.
And so
Right.
one of the examples I use in when I'm teaching in a class is I talk about, if we're going down the road 70 miles an hour and we see brake lights come on and brake lights go off, we might put our foot over there, cover the brake, and then the brake light goes off and we continue, but we're scanning, why did they put the brake on?
Right.
What was it? Something in the road or whatever. But what if the brake light comes on and stays on? What do we do as drivers? We do this right here. We go left, right, rear view mirror because
Right.
we're like,
Right.
what's behind us? But when we go left,
Mm.
right, we're looking for our escape route. We're looking for what caused that. And in decision making, our brain's constantly going, it's constantly, doing that.
Right.
Well, our kid, when they first start driving, if somebody put on brakes in right in front of them, what are they going to do? They're going to put on their brake. Their eyes will
Right.
never go right here. That's why you see a lot of kids get rear ended, and
Mm.
things like that. So the point of that story is that we learn how to make decisions in life through a life experience.
Correct.
That's how we learn. It's the whole purpose of what's your passion. You're trying to transfer your experience and knowledge that you've built in all these years of business to people so they can do it better,
Correct.
faster, more
Hmm.
profitable. And so, so that's just life. But we could sit here, we're all parents here. We could sit here, us, and we could say, hey, if you're in this situation with your kid, how would you handle it? And you're
Right.
going to
Right.
say, well, I would handle it this way because we did it with our kid and it didn't work so well, or we did it with our kid and it turned out beautifully. But
Right.
we can take that at anything in life. I mean, we could talk about finances, we can talk about relationships, we could talk about parenting, we can talk about business. There's
Right.
nothing off the table, of what the things that we could talk about. But that a lot of what we talk about comes through life experience.
Correct.
So so the same thing is like if I can go out and I can take Clark Beatty's story and I can talk to you about that in the aviation world, can I make it when something goes wrong in that aircraft? Can I make you think about that in rapidly because you've heard the story and think
Right.
about we're going to level the wings, center the ball, pull power, and climb away? Because that's what we briefed before the flight. We say if anything goes wrong and we're coming into land, we're going to level the wings, we're going to center the ball. That's a helicopter thing. We're going to pull power
Right.
and we're going to climb away. What ended up happening in that helicopter is the guy in the left seat was flying, and this is your power, your left hand. What happened is when the things went wrong, well, turning off that red cockpit dome light's right here for him. They couldn't get the red cockpit dome light off. So he goes like this, and the power, he presses down on the power. So he takes the power out. So
Mm.
everybody focus on turning that light off instead of him go level the wings, center ball, pull power, climb away from the deck. They focused on turning the light off. They were already at when the whole thing started, they were probably at 280 feet. Well, when they pulled the helicopter out of the water, what's called the vertical speed indicator, the VSI was at 1,200 feet rate of descent per minute. Think about that.
Right.
So they screamed out of the air and flew it right into the water. So I used to take when I became a flight school instructor. Shortly after that, we would teach. We would teach like boat ops, and we would teach SAR, like search and rescue, and all that. Well, I would take my students. I would take them up to altitude, and I would tell them their hard deck was this
Okay.
altitude, right? And so we were high. We would go up to like, either 2,000 feet or 1,000, feet or 1,300 feet. And I would start and I'd say, your hard deck is 1,000 feet. Don't go below it. And I would say, I want you to fly me a pattern 180 degrees. And I want you to be here. We're at 1,300 feet. I want you to be at 1,000 feet, coming down and level. I want you to stop and be at 1,000 feet, flying straight and level. And
Right.
they would
Right.
start it and I'd reach up and turn the lights off, some of the lights off.
Mm.
And they could still see their main gauges. But what I wanted them to do is look at their gauges, roll their wings level, pull the power, send the ball, and come up. And then I would talk to them about that story. Hey,
Right.
something goes wrong. When I turn the lights off, the immediate thing you should do is look right at your attitude indicator. All right. You look right at your attitude indicator and level the wings. Well,
Right.
we don't
Right.
need to go down anymore because that's the ground. I told you the ground is 1,000 feet. And so I would tell them the story and I would make them think about it. So if ever they were out at the ship or they were out flying, they would, and something went wrong, that would immediately be in their head.
Right.
I'm
Right.
setting those cues and patterns and all those things in their head. And that's how you do training. That's part of the way we do training.
Correct.
Again, and again, you can apply it. How I figured a lot of this out is I used to just speak and talk, and I've been a helicopter pilot. I went from in the Marine Corps, working in the V-22 program, to being an air medical pilot for
Mhm.
hospitals, flew 659 patient flights. I still am a pilot today. I fly a helicopter and a jet for Team Penske, NASCAR, and Indy. Um, and so in all those times as air medical pilot, I was speaking. I was going out speaking. I was building Convene at this time. So I was building
Right.
version 1 and started on version 2. But I was speaking at Duke University. I was at a trauma conference, and I'm talking about decision making, crew resource management, how we make decisions, how we communicate in a high risk environment, a time critical environment, all these things. And, ultimately the ultimate goal when you're speaking at a conference, you want people to come up afterwards and talk to you. That's that you're building business, you're talking to them. So I had a line of people coming up and wanting to talk to me. And we're talking about trauma nurses, trauma surgeons, trauma docs. We're talking about, medical crews and all that.
Uh,
And you know what they wanted to talk to me about, Renee? They want to talk to me about their marriage, their relationship, and parenting that day, because they had taken what I talked about up there. And it was 500 people in the audience. They had taken what I was talking about, and they had taken that subject and they had tied it to their life,
huh.
not working down in the trauma bay. They tied it to their life. And so
Right.
I started thinking, okay, I can have this platform for myself, just me, because I was doing it with businesses and all that. Or I can let Renee go out and use it to grow, what's your passion? And so that's when we embarked on growing the platform, the community side, to let people go out and take it to whatever they're passionate about. You with what's your passion, Doc with podcasting, a podcasting community, teaching people how to podcast. So
That's incredible. So no, I mean, my experience so far with Convene is just, it's like you're saying, it's just so much you can bring into the system. And I'm starting to kind of get used to building out my groups, which has been interesting. It's been very exciting, kind of a transformation. And I get excited when I'm doing it. And I'm learning every time how much that system, once people get into it and they just take the time to learn it and listen to your videos, because you do extremely well on just every training video. And like anything, if you just pay attention, right?
yeah,
Or just put the time in. But it's just really is an incredible system, that's why I get excited about trying to share it with more people. And I think more we can get them to see how, if there are any type of business what you're showing, it's not just for coaching and things of that nature. But I'm starting to notice that more businesses are becoming part of the platform so they can share it with their organizations and teaching and training. Is
yeah.
that correct?
Absolutely. There's nothing off the table. There's nothing that can't be done. And so we have a lot of organizations coming in, a lot of businesses, a lot of nonprofits, a lot of people with content where, maybe you're a content creator and you have some content, you want to train the trainer. You want to train
Right.
them how to do certain things. So there's some organization. I'll give you some examples. How about that? There's an organization up out of Michigan called Discover You. And this organization has been very successful up in the Midland, Michigan area, working in the school systems, teaching youth on, mental health and well-being. Very successful, but they know they have something special and they already have a curriculum. So now what they want to do is they're building it into Convene, and they're training the trainers, they're training the mentors. Well, their goal is to not just be in Michigan, their goal is to train the trainers and be in all 50 states of the United States. And now they'll train everyone and they'll let those mentors and those coaches have a group inside of their community. So I'm really excited about that. There's Legacy Minded Men, that is same model. There's Move Your Change, same model. There is all kinds of organizations. Doc has a podcast. His goal is to teach people how to podcast, how to do it properly. He's creating all these courses on the basics all the way through advanced, podcasting and stuff like that. So again, there's nothing off the table. You're going to be teaching people how to be, successful in business and entrepreneurs, and also a lot of other things, as people
Right.
know. But here's the key. the key to what makes Convene different, and people really need to pay attention to this. The key to what makes people Convene different is you're not the only one with the expertise. You know, I could join your group, Doc could join your group, and we bring something to the table. We
Correct.
bring our story about being business owners. We bring our stories about being entrepreneurs. And maybe it's our success stories, maybe it's our failures. Don't do what I
Right.
did. So it becomes
Mhm.
a shared learning platform where the majority of platforms out there, if you look at the other platforms, it's one way. I'm taking my content and I'm pushing it to you. And you're watching my videos but you don't interact with me. If I'm going to be part of what's your passion, your community, I want access to Renee. Renee, you're the reason I'm there. You're the expert. And so
Right.
that's what Convene does. It gives you the ability to be, for me, have access to you in the discussion boards and the experiences, the way we do our learning modules and stuff like that. I'm actually an active part of the learning, where
Right.
in
Right.
other things, I'm just a receiver, you know?
When you look at a similarities, like what companies, what programs are you similar to
Yep.
that people are when they think about different programs? What do you think that you relate to the most?
Yeah, correct. So that's a wonderful question. I think a lot of people will compare us to Kajabi, Thinkific, you know, or like those type of platforms. We get
Right.
compared to those a lot. So we'll get asked, well, how are you different than those? How are you different than Kajabi? And again, what what makes us different is we do everything in groups. You mentioned
Correct.
groups earlier. You said I'm building my groups. Everything is done in groups. It's not just a module. I'm not just coming to take Renee's 10-step course. I'm not going to just take Doc's 10-step course on podcasting. I'm
Okay.
actually in your group inside of those. And then we get compared to, well, okay, well, what makes that different than a Facebook group? So inside of the groups, we built in blogs, we've built in discussion boards, we've built in training modules, we built in all these different things. Your members have like your profile is like LinkedIn. So we've taken the best of
Right.
everything around and we've kind of combined it in one spot. So we get compared to all like Facebook groups and all that, but it's a more intimate space. What I mean by that is if I come into What's Your Passion, the What's Your Passion community, I'm
Uh-huh.
part of the What's Your Passion community. That's my focus. I'm in there. Now I can go out and look for other communities inside of Convene Communities, but I'm there to be inside of What's Your Passion, inside of your groups. And we do some things like in discussion boards, we offer a lot of anonymity. So you can post as yourself, you can post anonymously, you can respond to people as yourself, you can respond anonymously. But I've never seen one negative thing happen inside of Convene because everybody's there for the same reason. Everybody's there we call ourselves Convene Communities, a platform with a purpose.
Right.
Everybody there is purpose driven. We are there to help each other out. We are there to make a difference in people's lives and people join because they want to be part of something like that. If I go to Kajabi and I take your course, I don't interact with Doc. I don't
Right.
interact with the other members. I get to take your course. So it's very collaborative, inside of the Convene Communities. That's what makes us different.
And I've noticed recently, like your like documents and everything else can be uploaded into the program to where
Yeah,
it can either be my documents from me or I can share. Is that correct?
yeah,
So it's kind of like
yeah.
Dropbox in a way on
Well, it's a
Google
wonderful
Drive.
question because I got tired. I have, having all my documents out in Dropbox. And so, that's not in the platform where I'm building. So we take document management. This is important to me. So inside of Convene, you can hang your documents everywhere. You have a document management center that's yours where you can see where all your documents are. But you can put documents, you're a community leader, so you can have community documents for your community members. You
Mhm.
have groups. You can have group documents for the people inside of there. But what if you have a module and you have like a lesson plan or something like that? You can have
Right.
documents inside of your modules. Our training mechanism, it could be a training, it could be a course or whatever. We call them experiences because that's how we learn. We learn through experience. You can have documents inside of your experiences. We have
Okay.
a CRM. You can have documents inside of your CRM, your contact management. You can have we have a project management. You can have documents inside your project management. And then over here on your profile, you can have your own personal documents. So
Okay.
documents are everywhere. And the point is I don't have to jump over to Dropbox to go get my documents. If I want to keep some personal documents in there, It's all secure, but I'm the only one that has access. It's underneath my profile and in my document management center, what's called my Convene. So documents are
And
important.
I know the videos, like the power of being able to upload videos off of YouTube into the program
Mhm.
and just having it organized in certain ways. That's another. I've never seen that with any other program. So that unique comparison to some of these
Yeah,
programs also.
other programmers some allow you to upload a certain amount of videos, a certain amount of size. Well, what we teach people to do, I mean, again, you have some you have YouTube. YouTube is the King Kong of videos, right? You have Vimeo. Vimeo's right behind YouTube, a little smaller. But
Yeah, but you
why do
can only
we
watch
need
the videos. It's not
yeah.
really
But why do
connecting.
we need to house videos inside of Convene? So the system links your videos from your YouTube page and they're seamlessly linked in. So Doc's going to create a course coming up here real soon about creating a YouTube page because some people don't know how to create that page. But that's one of the things
Right,
Doc's going to create a course on that, a tutorial. So we link, but videos are everything. I believe, again, I'm an educator, right? With that, I believe you teach people how to learn in multiple ways, right? Video. I like to watch videos. I like to watch or listen. I'm not necessarily a reader, but
right,
people are. So you need to give them the visual. They can listen when they're watching the videos, but you also need to have the write up there as well. You have to, because
correct.
some people are readers, and so we teach people to do it in all the formats of learning there and to combine it.
And I've noticed that, again, what I'm excited about is that when somebody comes into the Convene community under just my link, so they
Yep.
come in there, they can create their own little profile for free.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
when they're in there, they might see your course, or they might see Eugene's course, or they might see other people's courses. So it gives us an opportunity where that might not be my specialty, but you're coming there maybe for something that I can help you out with. But because of our community that we have and the friendships and relationships, it's kind of like go over to the
Yeah.
other classroom if you want to see what Eugene's doing, or
Yeah.
Andy, and things of that nature. And it just gives that ability where our people we're giving them more value in one
Yeah.
place.
Absolutely. So, the example we use is it's like going to the mall.
Yeah.
So Convene is like walking into the mall. And so when you walk into the Convene houses all the different communities. So the mall is the mall. When I walk into there and I look at all the communities, that's like all the department stores in the communities. And then when I
Mhm.
go into the groups inside of the communities, that's like all the different departments inside of the sporting goods store or whatever. So it is important. The other thing is we really try to help each other grow. Again, you
Right,
can't
right,
be, I can't be an expert on everything. The example I like to use all the time is we have Eugene Brown, and you brought Eugene up, but he teaches people how to trade stocks. He
right,
went from $5,000 to 3 million trading stocks, day trading, and during the COVID timeframe.
right,
And what he was doing before that is he was driving Uber. Didn't think he could drive Uber during COVID, so he stopped. Took $5,000, put it in the stock market, and made 3 million. Well,
wow,
I don't know how to teach people to trade stocks. I don't. But here's what happens: if you come in and you're like, "Oh man," I tell you that story, and you're like, "That's great. I've always wanted to learn how to trade stocks." And I say, "Hey, come to Convene. There's a guy in Convene. His name's Eugene. Go take his course." Well, guess what?
mhm,
Eugene gives me a referral fee for me bringing you to him. So he pays just like everything, Amazon and everything. A lot of referral fees fly around inside of Convene. So we're really trying to help each other grow because, again, I don't teach people how to podcast. I may do a
right, right,
podcast, but I know a guy right here at the bottom of the screen that teaches people how to podcast, and produces podcasts for me and you. So it makes it easy on us, right? So that's the idea. The idea is that we take people's expertise. We all have different expertise, and we leverage it,
right,
and we help each other out. We help each other grow. If I bring when your courses are up and running, and I refer somebody to you and bring you a sale, it's like I'm a salesman. So it's like
correct,
you have an army of salesmen, and some people don't want to be content creators, but if they know they can get a referral fee, they're just going to be referral.
right.
Be affiliate and get referral fees all day long. You know.
I have a good friend of mine, Lane, that's on tonight. We've been knowing each other for years. We've been doing these networking events for years, and we were talking about this the other day. That sometimes people are doing these referrals, but you're not getting anything, and
Oh
we're
yeah.
the ones who are bringing these people to these lunches or whatever. But it's like it's hard to monetize it, and it's hard to connect it.
Yeah.
But something like this, like I told her, we're gonna bring her into the program and help her bring her books and things of that nature in there, so she can start bringing her community into the platform,
Yeah.
because she's been doing this for years, but she's not getting paid for it. And I just
Absolutely.
find that this is the best platform to do the
It's
networking
Yeah,
that we've
it's
been trying
built
to do.
it's literally it's a networking platform. It
Right.
is really we do a lot of networking. We get to know each other. We get to know each other's stories, who they are, and we help each other out. You never
Mhm.
know. I told somebody yesterday, I was like, you never know who you're going to be talking to. That's why you got to get to know people inside of Convene. Because
Correct.
you got to get to know Renee to know what Renee teaches. You got to know Doc to know what he teaches. So know what's in there, because you
Mhm.
might be talking to somebody tomorrow and they're like, oh man, I just, I really want to learn how to run a business. I'm really not sure how to run a business. I think I have a story. I think I have, something I'm very passionate about. I just don't know how to turn it into something.
Right,
Okay,
right.
we'll go over to what's your passion, because that's what Renee's going to help you do. And I refer that person over to you. You just don't know who you're going to meet on any given day. And you
Well,
can
it's just
try
like
to
with
avoid.
this, I never you're in North Carolina, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
I'm here in New Orleans, and the only way I met you is with Nicole, right?
Nicole, that's right.
So it's all the people, the people connection. And then when I started with this, and then you introduced me to Andy, because I needed somebody to help me with the podcast.
Yeah.
And just over the last few days, I've met some individuals through some other people that are giving me the ability now with capital. So where now I can
Yeah.
be able to help businesses with solutions to capital that the traditional banks don't offer, right? And it's all because of a person. And
That's it.
everything we do in today's world, people don't realize the power of networking. They don't realize the power of relationships, how important they are. And sometimes that's the biggest disconnect, especially with the young individuals these days. They don't understand that what we're doing. They don't
Yeah.
realize that
You know.
we don't get where we are because of our brightness. We
Yeah.
get where we are because of the people we meet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be on this program and have the ability of my podcast looking like it's doing if it wasn't for the connection with Andy.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's just great.
100%. Yeah, and it is. It's relationships. It's relationships and getting to know people. That's really the most important thing. I mean, I think if you go, how often you can talk to people about when they go try to get a job.
Right,
Well,
right.
if a job gets posted and you're putting in your resume, well, you're one of a few hundred putting in your resume. So
No,
what's going to set you
thousands.
apart? Yeah,
These days, I think it's thousands.
hundreds, thousands. So what's going to set you apart? In most cases, in a lot of cases, it's going to be like me picking up the phone and Andy needs to hire somebody, and me
Right,
saying, "Hey, Andy, I got a great guy. I think you should look at him. His name's Renee. I'm gonna push you his resume." And it's that relationship that I have with Andy that opens the door for you.
correct.
And that is truly well, a great example
Yeah,
is when I got the job to be the helicopter pilot for Team Penske. I was working as an air medical pilot. I was working my shift, and the guy walked in and said, "Hey, Penske's looking for a helicopter pilot. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" I
right,
knew that
right.
that guy wasn't the guy that just introduced that to me, because I had been working up at Martinsville, Virginia, where the Martinsville race is, and the guy who is the airfield manager at Martinsville kept saying to me when I was working up there, he goes, "Yeah, one of the race teams, it's coming up. There's going to be an opening here real soon. If you're interested, let me know." Because I'm good friends with the pilots for Penske. I told that guy, I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, send me your resume. I'll call the guy." That wasn't the guy. He wasn't the guy. I left, got in my car before I was out of the parking lot. I dialed up Jason Davis and I said, "Jason, that job you've been telling me about is open." He said, "When you get home, send me your resume. Give me 24 hours." I was interviewing. I was interviewing for that job within 2 days. And it was
Wow.
because of relationships. It was because of the networking. It was because of building that relationship with Jason. And Jason called up Mark Brooks, was the lead helicopter pilot at the time, and said, "Hey, Mark, I got your guy." That's what I said. "I got your guy." And from there, uh, I was hired.
That's
But
incredible.
it's networking. It's knowing people. That's how it works. I tell my son that all the time. You know, all the time.
Yeah, it's I leave in the morning, and I guess I'm just, it's like a routine. I can't just sit around the house. I get up in the morning and I have agenda to go to meetings or go to networking or just try to go meet people. And sometimes the individuals who I find are, I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't know if they're waiting for something magical to come through the computer or something magical come knocking at the door. But the neighborhoods, they're empty, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to go out if you want to get the business or get any type of connection with anyone, and it's just very tough. It's very tough for me to see these days. Or so many people just don't understand the power of relationships and the power
Sure.
of just going out
Do
and
you know
meeting.
how many people I talk to that come to me? And it's the same thing that you and I've talked about that you're going to be helping people with. I have so many people that come to me and they'll say, "Hey, I have a story.
Right,
I have a story and I have and what's your passion?" You and I have talked about. I have a story and I have a passion. I really think that I can make a difference. They just don't
right,
know how to do it. They don't have a strategy to do it. And they don't believe in themselves that they can do it.
correct,
And here's
correct,
the problem that I have, and it goes back to what you're saying. They quit on themselves.
correct.
I mean, I've heard some of the most amazing stories, some of the most amazing ideas, things that I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's gonna be incredible." And they just quit. They just quit.
Right,
And one, they want that instant gratification. Instant
correct.
gratification. They want it. They want to be that instant influencer. They want to have that instant success. I've been building this for years. And we're not
Yeah,
talking about, we haven't gotten there yet, but I'm assuming we will in the next little bit of where we're going and the things that are happening right now, because it has taken me this long to get, you said, earlier, you're like, you have 3,600, 3,700 members. Well,
right,
yeah, we have that many members, but that's been strategic to grow as slow as we possibly can,
correct,
because it's when you go and we hit the sprint and we turn it on, which we are turning it on right now,
right.
it's go time. And when people are coming in and the people that are coming in, you, for example, Doc creating his course, for example, Discover You, Legacy Minded Men, Move Your Chains. I mean, people are coming. And so we're off and running. So
No,
36,
share with
3,700.
that because I mean that's what I'm excited about because I see where your vision is. I see where the company is. I see what it's taken you this period of time because you're very methodical and that you're wanting to make sure everything's perfect, we've had that conversation. And so right now, where you see the next, and I think the next year to 2 years, because I know that you have another event coming up that's going to be
Sure.
the online event, and then
Mhm.
eventually we're going to be putting together another physical event.
Correct.
And I know right now you're remodeling some things in the platform to make it more,
Yep.
a little bit more bells and whistles, whatever. And so, kind of share with us where that is.
Yeah. So I'll start with in talking about this because this will make sense. Events are huge, right? We want to have events. So let's talk about that real quick, because the big picture is this: is you had the platform, and the platform that we've created, the Convene Communities platform. It's a resource. Very
Correct.
specifically, I wanted people to know it's a resource. It's a resource for you to take what's your passion and grow something. It's a resource for Doc to teach people how to podcast and to grow a community filled with people's podcasts and be able to connect people and guests and all that. So the resource is there for anybody and everybody to use. The resource sits here. The events sit here. I am a true believer that we will create something, that we are creating something that will rival TED Talks. Let me
Correct.
explain what I mean. And what I mean is that I told you my story earlier. If I do a TED Talk, when I do a TED Talk, I don't get to tell my story. I don't get to talk about the Clark Beatty story. I get to talk about a topic. I get to talk about a topic, and that topic, it might be, I have a great lady. She's an author. I believe authors are great. But she has a TED Talk that is changing relationships one word at a time. What she doesn't get to tell is her story, and her book is called Renew and Restore. And she talks about life is in her book. She talks about life as being like life is like being on a river, and sometimes it's smooth and you're kayaking down it. And it's smooth and it's beautiful. And then you might come around a corner and that corner has rocks in it. And all of a sudden you're in white water, and that white water leads to whirlpools. And there's category 2, 3, and 4, white water. And then guess what happens after that white water? It smooths back out again. And she's talking about life, the trials and tribulations of life. She
Right.
doesn't get to tell that story in a TED Talk. Well, in Convene, I
Right.
believe, we call it Convene Real Talk, a platform with a purpose. I believe you get on that stage and you tell who you are and you tell your why and you tell your story about how you took this story and how now you're going out and impacting lives and changing lives. Again, a platform with a purpose. So the
Okay.
speaking engagements are key. This next weekend, we're doing one that is a virtual one where we're having some of our community leaders talk about how they've taken their stories, how they've taken their passions, and they've turned it into something profitable. That's the key. Can we help you take your story, take what you do, and turn it into something profitable? Or maybe not profitable. People come to Convene for a passion or profit, right? There's
Right.
nothing wrong with doing both, you know? So
Right.
some people, there's nonprofits. They're not necessarily worried about making a profit. They're worried about making an impact and a difference. Okay.
Hmm.
So that tells you about the kind of the structure. The speaking events are going to get really big. We have a music community that started. This music community is starting with people who have gold records, who are producers, have been in Nashville, who've been all over the
Wow.
place. And so music is very important. I believe everybody that comes on the stage should have a walk up song, something that matters to
Right.
them. And then I also believe that we're going to build. We're going to have open artists. We're going to have artists during the event, and then at night we'll have a headliner that does a concert, at the
Awesome.
end of the
Awesome.
night. So there's a lot to that. That's like
Right.
what sits above. The platform is great. This is version 2 that you're building on. We have just started version 3. We know we have to turn into a mobile app, so we'll be building into a mobile app. We know that we have to, create some changes, the better flow things and stuff. Plus, we have to keep up with technology. So I
Right.
have an incredible team they're off and running. They've started the building process. And so here I'll say within the next year, hopefully it will go faster than that. But
Right.
hopefully here really soon, this team of people that are way smarter than me will take the vision and take what we built and convene. And I use this example. We've built the Honda Accord. Now they're going to turn it into the Ferrari is
Right.
what this
Right.
team's going to do. And that's the best way to say it is these guys are way smarter than I'll ever be, but they've been able to take and what I'm passionate about and they're going to turn it into something incredible. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, but most people just they don't understand the time. They don't see the time like what we're doing right now. It's not, they don't see the back end. They don't see the hours. They don't see they don't know what it is that majority of people just don't, they give up on themselves too early.
Yep.
And I got to say, I started What's Your Passion 3 years ago. And that's when you and I started this conversation. And even myself, I got a little discouraged, and
Hmm.
I had to kind of put it off in the back burner. And I even built out a whole podcast studio and everything. And I just didn't have the right team.
Yeah.
And so I got discouraged because I did lose a good amount of money. And I just said, well, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's not my time or whatever it may be. And so but I look now, if I were to just stayed on the path consistently, but I think over the last few months by me picking this up again, I know that if I can just stay the course the next two
Yeah.
years, it'll be dominating. And then just being part of
Absolutely.
Convene,
Hmm.
I just feel that's just a platform that I want to be part of because
Yeah, and
I love what you're
you're part of a family, right? You're
doing.
part of a family now. You're part of a family that's going to help you grow, and maybe the timing wasn't right. I mean,
Right.
we're where we are now. We weren't where we are now. When I first met you,
Correct.
we're growing, and here's the deal: it's finding that belief in yourself, your story, and what you know, and
Right.
never giving up. It's
Right.
not going to happen overnight. It's just not going to. But if you stay to the grind and you keep working hard and you keep building, like I'm telling you, people are just starting to come to Convene.
Right.
The word is getting out. People are coming, and we're growing something special. Well, with every person that comes to Convene, they're going to end up networking and tell other people, "Hey, you need to come
Right.
into Convene." Right?
Mhm.
And so it's turning into something special because they also know who we are and what we stand for,
Correct.
and we're a good group of people. And so you just have to believe and you have to
Right.
not give up on yourself, but it also has to be the right timing for you as well. And that's where
Yeah, but
you're at
that's
right
like
now.
you said, the family though, it's just between you, Jody. I mean, it's just the relationships and the education that everybody's open to sharing.
Mhm.
And that's what I think people don't understand about this platform right now, because it's not that common yet. But I think as we start getting people to kind of see it, and we keep on doing podcasts like this, I think I think Andy, we talked about this, Andy. You weren't seeing yourself as a podcaster, I don't believe. You were just kind of doing this at first just to help out with. Is that correct? I believe
Correct.
you
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
you
I
just
was,
kind of started your version this year.
yeah, Matt continued to beat me over the head until I relented and decided to get on board. That's not
Yeah.
true. You realize I've been a member for 4 years now of Convene.
Yeah, has. Yep.
Right.
He really has. 4 years, but he's just now created his community in the last 2 weeks, and he's off and running. I mean, literally,
Oh no, I saw.
he is dug in and he is building it. But I will tell you this, and this is not to hit on Andy, right? Like, he came out with a vengeance the last 2 weeks,
Right.
and, made the comment to me last night, he's working hard. And, it's almost like, he's like, "Yeah, I hope this works and it's all gonna go okay," because he's worked so hard and he still sees that he has a lot more work to do.
Right.
And one of the things I said to him last night is, "Pace yourself, young sensei,"
Right.
because it is. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you think you're gonna sprint and get there, you're not going to. I've been at this a long time. And
Right.
if you go
Right.
back and look at it, think about it, right? If you look at Nike, Apple, if you look at all like big companies, they didn't happen overnight.
Right. Right.
They were a lot of work. I spend a lot of time in this chair working, but I'm also lucky enough to when I go fly the Gulfstream 280 and I, walk, get ready to fly, and up comes the stairs, this man named Roger Penske, who's a billionaire. And I'm
Right.
like, "Good morning, Roger. Good morning, Matt." I'm sitting there watching a man. I think I work hard. No, I don't work
Wow.
hard. I don't work hard. That man is 87 years old and he works circles around all three of us combined. And there's a reason why he is who he is. There's a reason why he was at the Daytona 500 last night, when the Daytona 500 ended, and he was probably at meetings this morning. I mean, he just grinds, he goes. But
Right.
this brings me passion. When I see you succeed, when I see Andy succeed, when I
Hmm.
see people getting their testimonies saying, a lady on the sites at Lisa Herring, when she gets a testimony that says, she teaches people how to file Social Security and disability benefits, specifically veterans. And when
Right.
she
Right.
gets a testimony and she sends it to me, and it's a man saying, "Thank you for helping me feel like a man again because you helped me get my benefits. I feel like I can contribute to my family, and it would not be possible without you." That's
Right.
just like me getting a testimony. It is. It's
Hmm.
as good as me getting a testimony. And that goes back to me sitting there a long time ago going, why would I just do this by myself? Let's do
Right.
it with everybody. Let's let everybody go make a difference. And that's where that whole platform with a purpose is. And that's what makes us different. You said it. You see the family now.
Right. Right.
You see the family of support that you're getting here. And that's really what it is. It's a huge family.
No, I'm very appreciative. I think my story. I've been just battling through the years of the traditional businesses, and the traditional businesses have, always kind of just you work your butt off. All state, for give me an example. I mean, I built that company. I built it, and we were number one for a period of time. And I got a plaque up here that's showing I hit these numbers that very few people hit at a period of time. And all of a sudden, within a short period of years, corporate America changed, and that affected my income, my ability of doing really what I enjoy doing. Right.
Mhm.
And it just keeps on coming to me that these different things change in this world. And I guess when I do this, and what I'm doing with what your passion and with Convene and everything, it's just that I just have this drive that it just gives me this energy, because we're teaching and helping, and so hopefully the people who are willing to listen and become part of our community, they can understand why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it is to really help people get more of freedom to where you have control and you are a brand,
Yeah.
and you can build your own course. You can build because that's what the future is. The future is us. The future
Yeah.
is us teaching, coaching, training, whether it's individuals, the young adults have no prayer in the world right now unless it's people like us leading
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Some of the wealthy individuals who have these big companies, they don't have the time, or they don't have the resources, and they're not really reaching down to teach their employees or employees, things of that nature, how to really understand how to use that money that they're making and starting up a side business. They don't want to teach them that, right? They don't want them to be business owners, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just a lot of things, and that I'm going through in the last few weeks, that I'm hoping that things are coming together, people are coming together. The platform will convene. I find that as I'm getting more into it, I'm starting to kind of visualize how I can create these programs. But again, it's because of the support with you guys that's
Yeah.
making me stronger and making me feel okay, I can do this, right?
Yeah. Well, think about this. It's like you said, you're bringing life experience to the table. That's what you're
Hmm.
bringing to the community. That's what Convene is all about. Sharing your experience and knowledge for the good of others. That's really what we're here to do.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, along the way, I think all three of us on this call would agree that life sometimes, we're all in our 50s, life
Right.
sometimes would come along with some hard knocks. Would y'all agree with that?
Hmm.
We all have a lot of life lessons learned. Now, I have a 27-year-old son, a 24-year-old daughter, and a 20-year-old daughter. I don't want them to make the same mistakes that I made, right?
Correct.
I don't want them to, walk into their job one day and get told, "Hey, we're glad you're here." Like I told you, I started that training program for the V-22 Osprey. I walked
Right.
in one day. I started $28.6 million. I walked in one day and they said, "Hey, it's great, but we're gonna have to let you go because you make the
Mm.
most money on the contract, and we can hire two people for what we're paying you."
Correct.
And so I'm sitting here looking around, and I look at the guy, Frank, and I was like, "Frank, you wouldn't be sitting in that seat." His biggest one of the biggest life lessons I've ever had. "You wouldn't be sitting in that seat if I hadn't started this contract." And he said, "Matt," because I knew him when I was in the Marine Corps. He said, "Matt, I know." He said, "But this is not personal; it's business."
Right.
That's a huge life lesson. It's not personal; it's business.
Right.
And you
Right.
know what? He's right. He can pay two people. So it was either keep me there or get rid of two guys, a guy named Jeff Oakley, and Dennis Hill. Get rid of both of them or keep me. So he had
Right.
two people that could stay for me doing it. And it was like a brutal thing. There's a lot more to that story anyway.
Right.
That to it because I got offered a different position and I didn't take it at the time. That's how I got back into flying. But the point I'm making is I didn't have a plan B.
Right. Right.
I didn't have a fallback. And so
Hmm.
that's what I talk to, some of the young people about is like, okay, yeah, you might be working your 9 to 5, but what if they walk in tomorrow and that 9 to 5 is gone? Do you have any kind of stream of income coming in? Do you have any
Hmm.
kind of backup? What are you doing to fall back on it?
Right.
And if you're not, and when you're young, because we all know this, when you're young and before kids, that's your time to grind.
Hmm.
Go make something happen. Go build something.
And I mean, how many stories do we hear of people who get? I mean, especially if you're older in your 50s and you have kids, you have a household, you have debt, and something like that happens. How many suicides have happened because of that?
Sure.
And it's just because people are waiting for that time. And I talk to people again that work on these boats that I deal with transportation, and they're making $300-400 a day, and if not more. And some of them I'm watching, and I listen to them, and I ask them, so what you did for your 10? They get 10 to 14 days off,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, so what you? Oh, God just did this and this and this. But it's like, okay, so you just sat around for 14 days,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I can't even imagine that. I mean, I just can't. I
Well,
can't do
think
it because I'm always trying to figure out how is
yeah.
my next move. How could I get systems in place? Because I know that I don't want to be in that position of when income something stops. Because we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me. But
Well, think about this, Renee. I fly the helicopter on the lead helicopter for Team Penske NASCAR in Indy.
oh, yeah,
I
it's an
fly
incredible
a
position.
Gulfstream 280 for Team Penske NASCAR in Indy. Our schedule is pretty much set up, like you just said, to work awful. And we do okay as pilots. It's set up to work 14 days a month. We have 20 something pilots. I'm probably one of a handful that does something outside of just being a pilot. Most people are just a pilot.
Wow, really?
Most people are just a pilot in the corporate world. Not all. There's some other people that do things, but
Right.
I'm not resting on my laurels. I'm not going to sit there and just rest. I mean, again, I see this as being bigger than that job will ever be.
Oh, yeah.
And I see it as my way of leaving. I've been flying since 1995. I'm ready for a break from the flying game, you
Right,
know,
right,
and that's been the plan the whole time. Build, 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 build. But it doesn't mean I don't have the day job over here. And
right,
and
right.
and so when I'm off, right, I had to go get a hip replacement so I can grind for, weeks, and work
Right.
hard because you just have to do it. You gotta have plan B, and hopefully
Yeah.
your plan B can turn into your plan A.
I get
Yeah.
my plan B from the drugstore.
Yeah, you do.
I want to I appreciate both of y'all. I appreciate you, Matt, your time and just everything you've helped me out through the process, and Andy for helping me out with these podcasts. I mean, you've really made me so take that load off of me trying to figure out how to get these things together. And also,
Yeah,
I just feel like right now, what's your passion, Convene Communities, and everything we're doing right now. I just feel 2024 is a very exciting year. We're only in February. I mean, geez,
yeah,
we're almost at the end, almost into March, but still, I mean, 2 months in, and I just see so much momentum happening.
yeah,
So I just want to thank y'all both for coming on tonight. And again, if anybody who's on as guests, I thank you very much for the support. Lane, I know you're on tonight. I appreciate your support. We're going to get you on to the next podcast and also get your community started in Convene. And Christine, I thank you for your time. So I appreciate everybody coming on tonight, and look forward to next Tuesday. And we'll probably have another secret guest. So every week I'm trying to bring on a good guest to make our channels and information more powerful.
all right. Thanks, Renee.
Thank
Night,
you. Thank you,
everybody.
Andy.